Friday. Things are going well here at the table. Been enjoying the weekend. Looking forward to today. Got a panel coming up about the Flintstones. I'll be doing that. Dana Snyder. This table, he's usually next to me, but he's right behind me. All right, so the Flintstones. We're going to talk all about the Flintstones. I got some wild stuff to tell you. We're not just focusing on the original Flintstones series, but we'll start out talking about that. It was originally broadcast September 30th, 1960, went off the air in April of 1966. It was a huge hit on ABC at the time, and for many years after, it was the longest running animated series in prime time with just 6 seasons. As you probably know, there's a show called Simpsons that has been on for 150 seasons, I think, at this point. So there's certainly been others, but in its time, it was a huge hit. Now, Hanna-Barbera Studios, founded by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera. These two were working for MGM, and MGM decided to close their animation division. They had created 2 characters, Tom and Jerry. So that was for MGM. That was their most famous creation for MGM. It was a huge hit. And so when MGM said, hey, we're shutting down, most of our animation department, they said, well, we'll do our own animation studio. And so they went ahead and started their own small studio. They had a hit with the Rough and Ready show in 1957. And then at the same time, Huckleberry Hound. And then something interesting happened. 1959, Sleeping Beauty comes out. And Sleeping Beauty was a financial disaster for the Walt Disney Company. Walt lost a lot of money on this, and so he laid off about a third of his animators because they really needed to tighten things up and figure out a way out of this problem. These guys needed a job, and Hanna-Barbera needed more animators. So Hanna-Barbera hired basically all of them. And so these are guys that had this great Disney pedigree, knew how to draw, knew how to animate like you wouldn't believe. And Hanna-Barbera had this idea, we're going to do a more simple style of animation. As you know, in the Flintstones, if you were watching a scene and there was a rock that looked different than the others, you were like, well, that's the one they'll go over and pick up, I'm sure, before the end of this sequence, The first pilot that they did, it never aired on television, but it was released on VHS in 1994. But they did a 90-second pilot just to kind of look at it, get a look at the characters and see what, because initially their thoughts was this was going to be cavemen, which they are, but they clearly are much more, it was a parallel of modern times. And we'll talk a little bit about this, but this was the pilot. Does anybody know what the pilot was called? Oh, thank God. I was hoping that no one here. Oh, you.
Is it a Bedrocks?
No. Okay, this is good. This is very good news because I like when the audience knows slightly less than I do about the subject because then I feel. It was the Flagstones, which does not. The Flintstones sounds right to us, but I guess had they always been the Flagstones, it's it's a different type of stone. So. Here are the 10 most popular episodes on IMDb of the Flintstones. And these may bring back some memories. If they do, please tell me. Barney the Invisible is number 10. This is an episode, and this was a very common trope in sitcoms, and the Flintstones was trying to be a sitcom, but one of the characters becomes invisible. I believe on Gilligan's Island, somebody became invisible at one point in time. The Bedrock Drive-In. This is the episode called The Drive-In. The Flintstones buy a drive-in. Another episode that was very popular, The Hot Piano. This is one where Fred meets a very shady individual who sells him a stolen piano. Here's one of my favorites, Fred the Prowler. So in this episode, Fred hears that there's a prowler on the loose in Bedrock. So he dresses up as a prowler to scare his wife. Like, how could that go wrong? And then, of course, the real Prowler shows up and then scares Fred. And, of course, Wilma then thinks the real Prowler is Fred, and then she stops the Prowler. Here is Anne Margrock Presents. So the Flintstones love to have celebrity guest stars. Anne Margaret was on this one, and they called her Anne Margrock. they really loved anytime they found somebody that had a name that they could, like Tony Curtis was on an episode and he was Stony Curtis. In this one, they believe that Fred has dinosaur disease, so they have to keep him awake for 72 hours so he doesn't die of dinosaur disease. The Flintstones did this, and then the Simpsons did one where Homer had eaten a puffer fish and then he thought he might die. Anybody remember this one, the haunted house episode where they got to spend a night in a haunted house? So this is another trope of TV from that time. You have to spend the night in a haunted house to inherit it. Like you have a relative who died and he's got a scary haunted house and he's like, hey, you have to spend the night here or else you can't inherit the house. The Flintstones Christmas episode, this is rerun on Cartoon Network every year. It's called Christmas Flintstone. There's always the meme of, seriously, what are they celebrating? Because they're before the birth of Christ. Like, how are they having Christmas? Here's the Bewitch episode. So Bewitch was a popular show and they did a crossover episode. Yeah. Dr. Sinister, this was another one of the most popular episodes. As a matter of fact, this is the one that is the most popular episode according to IMDb ratings. So enough people have given it the 5 stars or whatever. I think it's 10. I think they do it out of 10. Like the overall rating for this one is 8.1, which is the highest of all the Flintstones episodes. They're on a burger run, and Fred and Barney get caught up in this series of espionage, plots with this evil guy, Dr. Sinister, who has his own alligator as a pet. When the Flintstones went on the air, does anybody know who the sponsor was for the Flintstones?
Was it the cigarettes?
It was Winston Cigarettes. They would do their commercials where they'd be like the girls were doing yard work, and Fred and Barney would be like, Barn, it's real tough to watch them do all that work. And Barney's like, yeah, Fred, why don't we go around the corner where we can't see them? And so then they'd go around the corner, time for a Winston break. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. All right, here's a look at the floor. A couple hours away from wrestling. And I'll be sitting right over there doing the commentary for it. My table's over here if you want perspective on this. Look at this place. It's rocking and rolling. People are playing video games over here. Got a bunch of food trucks along this side. By the way, if you enjoy these videos, make sure, if you like the fonts, give it a thumbs up. And while you do, you gotta go, hey, to the deepest Henry Winkler growl. And that way, YouTube will know you liked it. They'll pass it on to other people. And I truly appreciate such things. Dress. Look at this. This could be it. From Matilda.
Roger's going over to check out Arthur.
Got him up, but this is not good. Skeletor's. Skeletor's right behind him. Oh no! Oh no! Oh! Hunter Clark! Oh, Stone Cold Stunner! Roger Clark! 1, 2, 3! That is it! Roger Clark has saved the day here in FSCW Arena. Well, my goodness. This has been one heck of a day. Hope you enjoyed this. We're going to do it again tomorrow. We'll come back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. In a moment, box is going to pop up here and one here. On this side is the video that YouTube says is best for you, but on this side will be my adventure here at Galaxycon Raleigh last year. It was good. I'll put Sunday there. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you click on it. Either way, come back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. I'll see you then.